And she said to me, Charles, you know what? You're not going to make it in varsity. You're not the academic type. You don't have the aptitude. You don't have the talent. Go to Technicon, learn something with your hands, and maybe life will be okay. Those are the words she spoke over me.
G'day podcast tribe, Gerald Hubert here on the Unlock Your Growth podcast. This is the podcast that helps you to unlock your growth and to become the person that you have been made to be. Now today with me, for those of you who are watching, you can see that we have a very special guest in the studio. Today I'm going to introduce my co-host secondly. I'm sorry, Chris. But today in the studio with us, we have Charles Hsuan, and he is currently the owner and founder of Flying Kite. And he's going to be telling us today about his life story and how his story can help you to grow in your life and also to take leaps in your decisions to pursue your dreams and to pursue that business that you've been thinking about and to get out of your comfort zone and to know that even when you are in a difficult place, there is always hope to move forward. And with me in the studio is my co-host also, Christian Nyambui, and he's going to be chatting with us today as well. So welcome Charles, welcome Christian, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you, Christian. It's been a pleasure. And for you, those of you that are listening or watching on YouTube, Gerald thought long and hard before the intro. So thank you for that. There was a lot of deep thought.
It's always difficult to start something, but once you get rolling, then I think there's a story in that as well. So. Okay, but Charles, maybe we can start with you sharing a little bit about where you are today, what you're doing right now. I know that you have Flying Kites and you also have an awesome podcast that I love listening to. I'm really inspired by your podcast, and we'll give all the links and the references at the end of the podcast if anybody wants to go listen to that. But what are you up to these days? Where are you at right now in your life? And then we can take it from there back.
Sure, that's a loaded question. Let me rewind there and start from the beginning as to how I got here. There's always a backstory. So growing up, if I remember correctly, at the age of 5, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I was such a hyperactive kid, always getting into trouble. The things that I heard growing up the most is, why can't you just sit still, like stop talking and just... why don't you do your homework? And I would do things impulsively without thinking about why. And I remember I got into trouble plenty times. And by the way, I'm sure this is a record. I got suspended by 3 nursery schools. 3. They just like, pick up Mrs. Hsuan, please pick up your son. We can't handle him anymore. Like I'm not making this up. Yeah, exactly. And this carried throughout school. I did not have a lot of self-confidence. I started emotional eating when I finished school. So right now I'm a 32 waist. In matric I was a size 40.
Wow.
I was eating and slap chips, Coke. I didn't know at the time. Even though I was playing sports, I was emotionally eating until my wife pointed it out. And I remember, and sadly, that there was a lady. I'm not going to mention her name. She was a career guidance counselor, and this was the quote unquote Christian lady. She was the one playing the guitar, singing the hymns, doing classes. And she said to me, Charles, you know what? You're not going to make it in varsity. You're not the academic type. You don't have the aptitude. You don't have the talent. Go to Technicon, learn something with your hands, and maybe life will be okay. Those are the words she spoke over me. My Asian parents, being Asian, will be like, no, you will go to varsity because education. You will... No, I refuse to believe it. And I'm very grateful for my parents that I never gave up. So I was your typical bad Asian, not good at maths or anything. I had to repeat 2 grades, bad Asian, because I just couldn't focus. But I'm very grateful that I pushed through, and today I've got a postgraduate degree in marketing. So I'm very grateful for my parents and the grace of God to help me go through this. But as to how I started on this whole journey about being a story selling coach, I'll never forget when I was in varsity, true story, third year, I had to write a lot of exams. One of them was commercial law. Commercial law is a year subject, not a semester. So it's based on your whole year's average. I went in there, I kid you not, with 30%. You need 50% to pass. If I don't pass all my subjects, I wouldn't get my degree. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to stay behind just to pass commercial law. So December time comes. I got, I think 48 or 47. So I think I got 60 something. So I did it right. But then there's the rewrite, which I didn't want to do. All my friends are like already on holiday. Yeah, we finished varsity. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do a rewrite.
Oh no.
I walked into the lecturer's office. And I remember back in the day, so for those of you that are younger, you probably don't remember this. Flight Center, they used to have the ticket in a grey envelope. Okay. And I saw that envelope. So I said to her, hey, ma'am, I noticed that you have a ticket book. You must be excited. She's like, yes, I can't wait, Like we've been planning this for a long time and now I have to mark papers. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. So I said to her, ma'am, you know what? It's December. It's a time of giving, number one. Number two, you just told me you don't want to stay here and mark another paper. What do you say? She let me pass.
Wow.
I got out of there before she changed her mind. I kid you not. And that was when I realized the power of words, which lead me where I am today. It's the power of words and how important it is to... So if you think about back then, somebody that was interviewing me, her name is Petra from Australia. She mentioned this to me that subconsciously I knew the importance of making it about them. I made it about them, not about what I want. I made it about what the lecturer wants. I put her first. Like you told me you want to get out of here. I didn't say, ma'am, let me pass. I really need to pass. I didn't make it about me. I made it about her. That's when a light bulb went off. Like there's power in words, and slowly got involved. And I graduated with a degree in finance, which I freaking hated it. I worked for the bank for like 5-7 years, wearing a shirt and tie. Not me. And I resigned without having another job. My parents were furious. I was unemployed for like 2 months. And the first week is great. You phone your friends, hey Gerald, hey Christian, let's go for movies, let's go to hit the mall. Yeah, after a week, people have to work. And I'm like, what now? So I got into selling at an insurance company, Outsurance. And that's when I realized I'm pretty good at it. It came pretty naturally. So, and fast forward a few years, I learned I paid my 10,000 hours working in advertising. So I did some numbers before I came here. My previous CEO, he said you need to have at least 10 to 12 meetings per week because it's all a numbers game. So I did a quick check. I was there for 4 years. It equates to over 1,000 meetings that I've had. Cold calling, meeting up with clients, sending proposal. So I've done a lot of reps. And that's when I started taking notes because we received good training and I was the top performer 3 out of the 4 years there. So I was doing something right. So I started making notes as to what I was doing and I started coaching people. And I realized without anybody mentioning this to me, I was using stories to sell. That's when I created a framework and I created a program, because when I coach my colleagues, I realized it's a transferable skill. Anybody can do it. So that's I don't know how long did it take for me to tell that story, but that's basically it in a summary.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's awesome. So you were working for this company, and then did you feel that your diagnosis with ADHD, did that hinder you at all while you were working, or did you kind of at this stage already overcome the challenge of having to live with that?
Okay. So I was put on Ritalin from the age of 5 until 16. Until when I was 16, I just refused to take it. I said to my parents, listen, I'm not a drug addict. Don't tell me to go pop another pill. And it has side effects. So I was on, like I said, Ritalin. It does work, but I had side effects. For example, paranoia as a kid. In grade 2, I had paranoia, but I didn't know what that was. I told my mom a few years ago. She's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I'm grade 2. I don't know what paranoia is. you know. But anyways, so I learned to cope with it. So on the top subject of ADHD, it's like having a brain that is a Ferrari engine but have bicycle as brakes. That's the best way I can put it. So three things. Again, I'm not a disclaimer. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm not giving medical advice. I am the patient zero myself. So the three things I've noticed about ADHD, and this is how I've learned to overcome it, is the three things people normally say is you're highly distracted, you are impulsive, and you can't stop moving, hyperactivity. But let's flip it around. The opposite end of distraction is curiosity. Hey, what's this? What's going on here? I'm always reading. Curious. When it comes to impulsiveness, I call it creativity gone right, because you, like penicillin was invented by accident. You try and error. The third thing, hyperactivity. I'm 40 something. I call it having energy. You know, so it's not a bad thing. So to answer your question, I'll never forget one of my sales manager at the time. His name is Alex, and he knows me for a long time. He says to me, Charles, you're impulsive, but the good thing about that is what makes you really good at selling is you take action.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, because I need things to happen. I take action. That's why I'm always trying to drive. I don't let a no get me down. I always trying to make it work. So I'm like, that's when I started thinking like, yeah, there's actually good to it. And I obviously have friends that accept me for who I am, and by the grace of God that I accepted that this is my superpower.
Wow, I like that. I like that what you just said, that it's your superpower. So you've actually taken something that's supposed to be a setback in your life, and you've looked at it at a different perspective, and it actually has enabled you to become who you are today.
But as a famous quote from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And let me explain to you why. So like Samson, power can protect or can destroy. Words can heal, words can kill. So it's that fine balance. That's why I say it's like having a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. I have put my foot in my mouth plenty of time by saying things without filtering. When I was a kid, people said to me, "You have no filter." So I've learned to manage that, to hold my tongue. So that's something that I have to actively work on. It didn't come by 'cause I have friends that's very honest with me. They will like say to do that was not cool. They'll be like, okay.
So feedback.
Yeah, feedback. Absolutely. And you have to have your big boy pants on, eh? Because they're being honest with you. They're doing it out of love.
Oh, thank you so much. I would like to go back to the actual work that we're doing, the story selling. There's always a little bit confusion in the market or in the public, like the storytelling and story selling. Can you tell us what is really the difference between the two?
Because Christian, that's a great question, and we were chatting a little bit off air. So let me use an example. This is one of my favorite examples, Ocean's 11. You guys have both seen it. And very entertaining. My question to the two of you is, did any of you wanted to go rob Monte Casino or Suncoast Casino after watching the movie? Yeah, well, okay, viewers, you can't hear, they're like, but most of the time people say no. And that's normally the point of an actual story, is for entertainment. Like watching Shrek, it's for entertainment. You laugh at a few jokes. You don't exactly go look for a swamp to look for ogre. Well, mind you, there are some people that might take it literally. So the story is for entertainment. Story selling is using story techniques to sell. So as an example, when I work with clients, what they said to me is that their sales cycle used to be a month. Now the sales cycles is 10 days by using those techniques. With every story, there's a you'll never watch the movie the same way again. There's always a structure. It's a character that wants something, that overcomes something to get it. Character that wants something overcomes a great uphill to get it. Every single story is like that. So I was telling Christian offline now, the classic the Karate Kid. The character, Daniel, he got beat up, and he wants something. He wants his pride back because he was just chatting to a girl, and then the guy came and go, "Pa pa pa, Cobra Kai," and then Miyagi comes and help him to overcome that, and then he becomes the champion. As a character wants something to overcome to get it. So that's the basic story arc, and we use the same thing. What I always tell people is, and I see this a lot as a mistake, you're not the hero, meaning that your company, your product is not the hero. Your client is the hero. So always think about what problem are you solving for them? What are their challenges? What is keeping them up at night? Because when you can do that, when you find out what that is, selling becomes a lot easier. Then I know what to sell. I don't have to pitch up and puke up. Hey, let me show you all the slides. Let me show you all the packages. Let me show you everything. And maybe you'll buy something. If I know what you're looking for, I know what to sell you. And that comes from asking questions. That's why a big part of our story, I actually simplify it. It's all about words. Words control discussions. Discussion control relationships. Relationships control business. By using words. What are we doing now? Words. Everything's about words. Email, words. Presentation, words. LinkedIn post, words. Sermon, words. Everything is words. That's all I'm doing. Helping people to craft their words.
I think I have two follow-up questions with that one. I'm sorry if I stole your question here, but would you consider story selling being very closely related to copywriting?
Copywriting will be part of it because it gives you, it plants a seed. There's good copywriting and bad copywriting. And it's different touch points. So I use this example that it's just the tip of the iceberg. This is what I call the buyer's pyramid. So let me ask you guys, when you guys woke up this morning, did any of you think about buying a brand new car today, like right after this? A new phone?
No.
New tires? New coffee mug? A new tripod? The answer is no. But somebody's selling that. So what the buyer's pyramid tells you is at any given time, only 3% of the market are ready to buy right now. So what I tell people is don't feel discouraged if nobody's buying it right now, because only 3% of the market is buying right now. The rest of the 7%, they're thinking about it. So that's 10%. The 90%, they didn't even think about it. Some of them know they're absolutely not interested. Some of them will consider it. But the point is to get that 7% into that 3%, because 3 plus 7, that's 10%. You literally triple your sales to get the interested people to buying right now.
Wow, that's some really good advice. When you and now I'm asking this question specifically because I'm enjoying what you're talking about story selling here and storytelling at the same time. I know you have a box on the table there and some papers which I'm curious about in a moment.
Okay.
I want to ask you one question before you get to that, and maybe that will be part of that. But when did you realize, like going from marketing and realizing that you have a way to understand the power of words to influence people, when did that become a story selling thing where you realized like, okay, I want to go from purely marketing to focusing on story selling? And was that one of the main reasons why you left your job in order to start the business?
It's a combination of everything. When it really sank in is at my previous company. You guys might have heard of it, entrepreneur.com. I worked for the South African branch, the Entrepreneur magazine, and at its heyday, it was the top-selling business publication. Because of that, I was always in contact with entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter if there's JC listed, startups, franchising. So I have a lot of experience of interacting with them. And I started to pay attention, like, we all have the same laptop. We all have the same resource. We all get the same copy of magazine. So why is it that I'm able to sell more than everybody else? And I realized when I start looking back is when I present, it wasn't about the product. It was about them buying into it. So as an example, so let's say the two of you guys starting up the business after, let's say, a year or two, and you have some fun build up now for marketing, you will start looking for opportunities. So I'll start a conversation to questioning, always asking questions like, hey, like, tell me your backstory. What are you guys selling? Who are you trying to reach? And blah, blah, blah. So let's say, as an example, the two of you trying to reach also startups. And I'll ask you, what kind of startups? Oh, people that are living maybe urban area or cities or whatever the case may be. But because you definitely have to know your product. So what I used to do is when we get the magazine out, I'll spend that Saturday reading the magazine back to front, making my notes. So I'll make sure I know my products. So because I know my product, I'm able to place this in a story. So you mentioned that you want to reach startup. So we have a section in the magazine called startups. So let me tell you who we're featuring this month. And I'll share some of the funder story, starter story. Does that sound like somebody you want to reach? You see what I did? I made it about you. I find out what your problem is, then I insert the product, but I can't do that before I know what the product is. Oh, sorry, before I know what your problem is. But I also need to know my products.
Wow.
I found out some of my colleagues never read the mag. I've noticed that, and they never gone to the website because I've been in meetings with them. There was a lady in franchising, and there was a article about franchise which I read, which I shared it with a client. And the lady that handles the franchise department, she said to me, "That's it." I'm like, "Yes. If you read the magazine, you would know." You know what the client said? The client said, "You should know your own product."
Wow.
Exactly.
Ouch.
Exactly. Ouch. So absolutely, you have to do your homework. But that's just as an example. If you put your customers first, it makes the buying a lot easier because I know what your problem is.
So did you realize that you are not happy with working, for somebody else, and you wanted to venture into that specifically?
Well, now that I left the company, I can talk about it freely. I had 4 amazing years. They taught me amazing things. Like one of the first thing I remember is they made me feel really special. So they were the first company that on your birthday, every single person, 40 people in the company sign your birthday card with a short little message. I was like, wow. They give you a voucher, they give you a day off. They made me feel valued. And they trained us also very well. I met amazing people. But after 4 years, it was time. And plus, I felt at the time the CEO was micromanaging a teeny weeny little bit too much. And it was just a tipping point. But I started thinking about this back in 2015 already. Like, I believe I have enough skills to go on my own. I remember it was a Friday that I sent in the resignation letter. And I gave them 90 days notice instead of 1 month. And I knew this will work. Well, I bet it will work. It was, I think I gave the resignation in September. So it's October, November. No. So 3 months notice will be November, December, January. And he accepted it. Because how I know my CEO works is, at the time, if you are valued, then he will give you lots of respect. If you don't perform, I've seen people pack up their stuff on the same day. So when I told him that, he actually called the whole company in to make the announcement. But I also, in a way, I did it for selfish reasons because December, January are low seasons. So I knew at least my salary is covered from December and January. That's when I left in January. Part of it for selfish reasons, part of it you have to be strategic. And that's when I left. January 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So please share with us what's happening on the table.
So for those of you watching on YouTube, there is in my hand there's a box. And so those of you that are listening, imagine there's a silver box with a bow. So what's the point of this? I carry this with me to most of my business meetings. Now in Ephesians 4:29 spoke about let no unclean words come out of your mouth, but only words that will edify. So let no words, unclean meaning unwholesome words that will break people down, but only words that will edify, that will build people. I take this with me as a reminder. So whoever works with me, I will only speak words that will build you up. Because words should be like a silver box with a gift on top, with a ribbon on top. It's a gift. So I use this and I carry this with me. I given this to my wife. We have it in a few places at home. So let's say if we get into an argument, she'll be like, "That's not a silver box." Like, you are right. You're absolutely right. And then my anger just goes down. It was just a nice, because it's visual. It's a silver box with a bow on top. It's a gift.
Wow.
So that's the genesis behind that.
Wow.
I didn't come up with that. As a lady, I heard her name is Lawrence, I forgot her surname, but she came up with it. I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. So I stole it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. I mean, I'm definitely going to remember that. We need to get a silver box in the studio here.
Silver box with a bow on top. It's a gift.
Exactly. And then you have some charts there, and I know there's a whole story behind that. Which also, did that story start before your last job that you worked at?
No. So I had a fair amount of understanding if I'm working for an entrepreneur company about, like, you need to save up and you need to plan and all that stuff. So I saved up 3 months salary, which definitely wasn't enough. I landed my first client 7 months later. So my savings was gone. I had to for the first time in my life, I started getting into credit card debt. So I'm very good with my money in terms of I don't spend more than I earn. So I'm very grateful that I haven't been credit card debt until for that time. And it wasn't used to buy stuff. It was literally to pay for debit orders and food and fuel. Long story short, by the end of the year, I pretty much maxed out. I was over 100,000 Rand in credit card debt. Wow. Now, 100,000 Rand for some CEO might not be a big deal. People earn 100Ks per month. But for me, it was a big deal. And the amount of stress I was going through. December 2017, after paying off my debit orders, I had 950 Rand left.
Wow.
Like, that's like the lowest point. 950 Rand left. And I met my wife, I told her about my story, and so she came up with this idea, and I'm going to describe it, and I'm going to show it in the camera too. She gamified the whole thing. She called it Operation Blue Star. What a rubbish name.
Wow.
I would have called Operation Debt Free, but what the heck is Blue Star? So I'm basically holding up an A4 paper. That's basically what my wife has done is she gamified the whole thing. So the debt is counting down from 100K to 90K to 80, 70. So every time I hit a certain milestone, I can tick it off. Wow. So for example, if I from 100,000 to 99 to 90, so I can mark it. She gamified the whole thing. And as you can see here, on the 22nd of July was the day I paid off the debt.
So 6 months.
No. 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
2 years later. No. Wow. And then also along the way, she made it fun by, again, gamifying. So if I achieve certain things, I'll get a massage, dinner for two, Pharrell Williams, gamified, like whatever sports massage. So these are things that I'll get. It kept it exciting because then I can mark it off. It's like a chart. I'm progressing. So that really helped. And guys, marry well. Best investment I've ever made. Marry well.
Thank you so much. For us who are not married, guys, marry well. So you said that you have been working with an entrepreneur even before you to quit your job. And then with the situation that's going on right now, we know that so many people want to start a business somewhere. What can you tell those one who want to start business?
Well, first of all, there's I need to find out what their reason is. So sometimes people start business out of necessity. Sometimes they start because they have this burning, itching thing that they just know they need to do. So that's two different things. If you're doing it out of necessity, that's one thing. But if you feel like you're doing it because you're making a difference, there's something else. I can only speak for myself. So if you want to start your business, and right now you currently are employed, one of the lessons I've learned, if I can go back, is start it part-time. I know sometimes people go full out. That's what I did. But from all the people I've interviewed, and I think it's like 80 or 90 people by now, I've noticed the importance of actually planning. And it will always take longer. It will always cost more. It's like very few people that I've interviewed that they start making money in their first month, cover their debit order and in their first month. Very, very few of them. If you believe you are the 1%, go for it. I wasn't the 1% and I got into freaking debt. And let me tell you, like my cholesterol was through the roof. I was so stressed. You don't want that. So as an example, what I could have done back then was start my YouTube channel, start my podcast while I was working there. There's nothing stopping me doing that, and start building up a name for myself. Start getting some reps in to find out is there a need for what I am pitching. Then I can refine in the process. I'm still getting paid, but I can use the weekends, the after. It just reduces risk. You know, and the one thing that I really say to people is you don't need funding per se. You need an economic right to exist. Meaning that if you have a product that is solving a burning problem for people will buy. If you like, a silly example, Vuvuzela. Remember back in the 2010, everybody was selling it. Where are they now? It was a fad. Same as the fidget spinner. You might have made a killing a month or two, but where are you now? It's not really sustaining. So if you can create a product that genuinely help people to solve a problem, and you can communicate it in a clear way, there will be a market for you. And price is not always an issue. Let me use that example. So let's use, because I have water here. So how much does a bottle of water cost, gentlemen?
10 Rand.
10 Rand. Okay. So, what depends where you buy. At the airport, definitely not 10 Rand. Okay, so let's for argument's sake, $10. What if I say to you that, Gerald, I can sell that bottle to you for 500 Rand, you'll pay me with no problem? You tell me I'm crazy. Let me paint you a picture. So let's say we're sitting in Pretoria. So let's say we go for a hike by the 𝐁𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂 Nature Reserve. And it's the middle of December and it's freaking hot. And somehow we got lost. There's no cell phone signals. We ran out of water and we're thirsty. And I came out of nowhere to say, here's a bottle of water, but it will cost you $500. If you have $500 on you, you'll give it to me. That's my point. If you can justify the pain you're solving, people will pay.
So it's all about the pain that you are solving.
Absolutely. Like, why would you pay for something if it's not solving a problem for you? Unless you have lots of money, that's a different story. Now, pain, not always physical pain, could be, there's a clothes, it makes me feel better. Or certain supplements make me feel stronger. Or certain equipment makes me feel cool. Or wearing certain sneaker it's a pain, it's a challenge, it's whatever you want to achieve. Then you'll pay for it.
Like what you're saying, You're
talking about the water, yeah.
It's a
very real pain.
As you were saying, like the story selling, it's you have to make your product about your hero, like the client, the person that you want to sell to. So if you clarify your thoughts about the pain that those people are going through or the challenges, you make a product for them, they are going to buy it.
Yes and no. Sometimes, so let's say it's not always the case. Nothing is foolproof, but it will increase your chances. So as an example, when Henry Ford designed the Model T, he said if you had to ask people at the time what they need, they would say a faster horse. So it really depends. But I'm talking about a better way. If you want to look for gaps, as an example, entrepreneur, I know I have friends. They're always looking for ideas and this and this and this, and it never came to fruition because it's not solving a real problem. So I'll give you an example. One of the ladies I interviewed, her name is Kimberly Taylor, and we were talking about this off air. She's got clients in 𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂, Kauai, Nando's, the delivery platform, right? Somebody needs to build it. Well, she's 26 and she freaking like built the logistic platform. How that came to her was it was a project in varsity to solve the traveling salesman situation, in terms of they were trying to figure out what route it takes to help them delivery guy get them quicker without wasting time, traffic routes, real-time platform, make sure that you can track the driver. It was a real problem, and that even after the project, she said it just wouldn't go away. Like, she had to do something about it. She saw the potential, and look at it today. Wow. She solved the real problem. I mean, I freaking love 𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂𝐂. You click, you buy. Next thing you know, hey, it's here. But somebody designed it to solve a real problem.
Wow.
As an example.
Wow. Well, unfortunately, we've come to the end of our discussion for today, but we'll definitely have to, how can I say, lure Charles back into the studio at some time.
The pleasure will be mine. The pleasure will be mine.
It's really been, I've really enjoyed the discussion. Thank you so much, Charles, for coming in here and just edifying us, with words that build up and telling your story. And I know there's a lot of story that we didn't even get to. But maybe we can just close with, where can the listeners or those that are watching the podcast, where can they get in contact with you or find out more about what you do, or maybe if they want to reach out to you?
Thanks, Gerald. So you can go onto the website, flyingkite.co.za. On there, there's free resources, so you can go on there. I wrote 2 short ebooks for you to download. One of them is called Microscripts. So Microscripts is basically your elevator pitch, like how to do it in a way. So you're more than welcome to download that. I've got a YouTube channel. I've got a podcast called Candid Conversations. There's lots of things, but everything is stored at flyingkite.co.za. Sign up for the newsletters. And I want to say thank you for the 2 of you and listeners out there. This is a podcast that's about to take off, so share it with your friends. These 2 gents, they have a heart of gold. They're here to help people. So listen to it, share it, subscribe. But if you don't, your favorite bunny will die.
And on that note, thank you so much for listening, everyone, today. Please make sure to join us again next week for our next discussion. But from my side, Gerald, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day, and until next time.